my wife and I had a portfolio of 6 single family rentals. And in one summer, we just had the portfolio kind of blow up. We had a $15,000 a tenant move out in the middle of the night after doing $15,000 worth of damage. We had to replace a roof, and we had a major leak, and it just we had loans on all of the properties. But they were all cash flowing, several $100s a month. And that summer, that 90-day period kind of wiped out the cash flow for like 2 years worth of cash flow. And we just got really fed up and said, hey, we understood the value. My wife's been a very successful residential real estate agent for 20 years. So we understood the tax advantages, the passive income advantages of real estate investing. And we knew that that's where we wanted to stay. So we looked into ways to scale that business and, landed on multifamily syndications. And that's been a game changer for us we've been doing it for 3 years now.
Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Hey folks, welcome back to the show. Today's guest, Marv McGuire out of beautiful St. Petersburg, Florida, is a multifamily syndicator with Grovia Capital with over 1,100 doors. He's also a 25-year Navy veteran, brain cancer survivor, husband and father of 4. Marv, welcome to the show.
Hey, Dylan, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
It's great to have you on here. And we were talking a little bit before hopping on. You actually grew up in DFW in Weatherford. I wasn't too far from there when I was living in Denton, right?
Exactly. Grew up in Weatherford, Texas. Go Kangaroos. Family is still there in Weatherford and has been there. I think my grandparents had a farm there, and family's been there in that area for probably over 75, 80 years.
And St. Petersburg, Florida is not DFW, but it is an amazing place to be. And I had mentioned to you, of all the places that I'd like to live in the United States, St. Petersburg is probably number one up there on that list. How did you get out to St. Petersburg?
Well, that's thanks to the Navy. So, they say join the Navy and see the world. And we did just that. Fortunately, we landed in St. Petersburg via Tokyo and Yokosuka, Japan, Monterey, California, Norfolk, Virginia, Jacksonville, Florida. And we ended up right here in the Tampa, St. Pete area at MacDill Air Force Base here in Tampa. Like I said, we lived in Jacksonville for 6 years, and then we've got 2 daughters in Miami. So I feel like we've got a really good feel for Florida real estate and the Florida markets. And we're super happy to have landed permanently in the St. Pete area.
I've heard that there's many versions of Florida. You've got West Coast of Florida, you've got Southern Florida, you've got Jacksonville. I'm probably missing many of the other markets, but each one has their own identity, right? And so I love going to Fort Lauderdale on the other side. That's my connecting flight from Florida to where I live now in Santo Domingo. But on the other side, I've heard you've got the white sand beaches. It's a little bit more cost effective, a little bit different speed of life. How true is that?
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
It's 100% true. It's 100% true. We get to Miami frequently, and that is, it's crazy busy and such a huge metropolis to see our daughters. And then, like I said previously, we lived up in Jacksonville, which you might as well be in Georgia, where my wife is from. And it's a different environment, a slower pace, more sprawl. And then you get, all the best of both worlds in Tampa, where it is on the West Coast. It's got gorgeous beaches, but you also have a ton of things to do. You've got every professional sports team and museums and retail. It's just wonderful. And St. Pete, I think St. Pete's going to be the next Miami. It's just exploding and it's gorgeous. And the food scene, the microbrewery scene, it's just got a lot of culture. I'm super glad we're here.
I wasn't thinking about diving into St. Pete, but now I want to, because selfishly, I love St. Petersburg from everything guests have told me. It's one of these places where unless you're really doing a dive into it, you're immediately going to think Miami, right? You're going to think South Florida. You might think Tampa. You might think like Naples, right? St. Petersburg can sometimes fly under the radar, but certainly not if you're in Florida. So you're seeing, the potential for it to be like the next big destination, maybe in the country, right?
I am. I think there's so much construction and growth going on in St. Petersburg. I mean, every time we drive into St. Pete and we come over the bridge, it's just cranes everywhere. Just cranes everywhere. There is so much construction there. They're talking about tearing down Tropicana Field, where the Tampa Bay Rays play, and building a mixed-use, huge residential, retail, business development right outside of downtown St. Pete. So I think that the future of St. Petersburg, Florida, is extremely bright.
I didn't even so the Rays play in St. Petersburg. I thought Tampa Bay, right? But it's St. Petersburg.
They do. They play pretty close to downtown St. Pete, Tropicana Field.
Now, when we talk about the kind of sprawl, the urban sprawl of Tampa Bay, is St. Petersburg considered like a Tampa Bay metro, or is it a distinct separate area?
It's completely a distinct separate area. I mean, people call it the Tampa St. Pete. The greater Tampa St. Pete area is kind of the way it's referred to. But St. Pete is probably 25 miles from downtown. Downtown to downtown is probably 20 plus miles. So it is definitely, and across the bay. So you're going across a 7-mile bridge across the bay. I don't know if it's quite that far, but it's a sizable bridge across Tampa Bay. So they're two very, very distinct metros, although they're close enough to be, considered one, I guess.
Hey, I have a couple more reasons now why I'm looking at it. It's interesting because I had mentioned, having just come from DFW. And when I initially moved up to Denton, I was told, oh, yeah, it's DFW Metro. And so I was commuting between Denton and Dallas, which, as you know, Marv, that's kind of a far commute. It would be
it's
like
not next
40. Yeah, it's not really feasible on a daily basis, especially the going home part. Like, you never really knew. And so when I'm thinking about the sprawl of these cities, sometimes they can get very large, like in the case of Denton and Dallas. But St. Petersburg does seem to be a very hot destination. I do want to pivot a bit here, though, Marv, and ask you about the multifamily syndication. I mentioned before hopping on here that I've had quite a number of syndicators on the show here in recent months. And I know you've got, with Grovia Capital, 1,100 doors. How did you get into the multifamily space?
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency. It's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
That's a pretty good story. It starts back when we were in the military. A lot of military families, very intentionally buy homes to, hey, this is a great place. It's close to the base. It'll be great to start our family. And at the same time, a lot of people look at it through, hey, I'm going to be moving every 3 to 4 years or 2 to 3 years. It's a great investment model. Hey, I'll buy this house, I'll rent it out. It's close to the base, and then I'll go to the next duty station and buy another one, and just build your portfolio that way. That's kind of, we did a little mixture of both. And by the time I retired and transitioned out of the military in 13, my wife and I had a portfolio of 6 single family rentals. And in one summer, we just had the portfolio kind of blow up. We had a $15,000 a tenant move out in the middle of the night after doing $15,000 worth of damage. We had to replace a roof, and we had a major leak, and it just we had loans on all of the properties. But they were all cash flowing, several $100s a month. And that summer, that 90-day period kind of wiped out the cash flow for like 2 years worth of cash flow. And we just got really fed up and said, hey, we understood the value. My wife's been a very successful residential real estate agent for 20 years. So we understood the tax advantages, the passive income advantages of real estate investing. And we knew that that's where we wanted to stay. So we looked into ways to scale that business, and landed on multifamily syndications. And that's been a game changer for us we've been doing it for 3 years now.
What year did that single family home
Debacle, the summer of
happen?
22. Yeah. The summer of 22.
Summer of 22. So, I mean, yeah, that was an interesting time in real estate in general, right? Because there's still some uncertainty where things are going to go. But right at about that time, rates were changing, right? When we talk about the multifamily space, getting in over the last 5 years has been interesting. And as I'm talking to more and more multifamily syndicators, I'm realizing there was a time period before, maybe like 2014 to 2019 or somewhere around there, where it seemed like you couldn't buy a deal wrong. That people were having these pro formas that were hitting in 50% of the time. They were buying on market over ask, and it was just working out, right? And then black swan event, COVID hits, moratorium on rents, arm rate loans, and sometimes the premiums double, right? Price for materials goes up, rents stabilize in certain markets like Austin, Texas, or even go down. And then you've got all these multifamily apartment complexes being built. And so it's increasing the supply. And so you had this kind of storm of events that made it challenging for some syndicators. So what's it been like in the syndication space in St. Petersburg over the last handful of years?
We haven't been able to buy a deal in St. Pete. We look in Houston and Dallas and Central Florida and South Georgia, and unfortunately we haven't been able to buy anything in Florida, just because during that same period, as you well know, the insurance
Yeah.
commercial properties just went through the moon. So we had a couple of different forces working against us. The insurance was just crippling and not making any deals pencil. And then, kind of like we've been talking about, people want to be in Tampa and St. Petersburg. So it's extraordinarily competitive. And so it's just really difficult to get anything done here in Florida, really. So we focused all of our efforts on Georgia. And, so we have about 550 doors in Savannah, and 100 or 150 doors or so in South Carolina and Charleston. And then the rest
Yeah.
of our units are in Houston. So we've had, that's a long way to say it was very, very difficult to get started.
I've heard such good things about the Carolinas, North and South Carolina. You said Charleston. Did I hear you right?
Yeah, Charleston.
I've heard such great things, not just from one segment of real estate, not just from multifamily single. It's like across the board. It seems like really a great place. Another place that I've got to put on my mental roadmap of places to either look at as investments or go check it out there, because it seems like there is enough growth, but there's also not as, of course there's competition, but there's not as much competition as of Florida, to where you can still find these deals. And I've also heard that there's great tenants. I can't speak for that firsthand, but I've heard that there's great tenants in the Carolinas as well.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
Yeah, we started out, that was one thing that, we started out kind of spread all over. We were looking in Texas and Florida and Georgia and North and South Carolina. And we love South Carolina particularly. We love, Greenville is amazing. Spartanburg is amazing. And we're actually doing a tiny home development in Raleigh, North Carolina. So we love
Nice.
the North and South Carolina markets. But as we got further into multifamily real estate space, we really rapidly realized the importance and the imperativeness to focus. So we really started to shrink the markets that we look at very, very purposely, because you can't know every market. You can't know 6 or 8 markets when you're when you're a small team. So we really focus about four markets that we're going deep in.
Now, you mentioned a tiny home community. That sounds like a new project. Have you developed before? Is this first time development for y'all?
It's a first time development for us. We've got a really good partner in Raleigh, and we started talking about doing something. He's got a piece of property about 7 minutes out of downtown. And, as this, digital nomad and the remote work was blowing up around COVID, we were kind of thinking, hey, this, everybody's going remote. This may be something that's going to continue on. And fortunately for us, it has. And so we have 2 of the tiny homes developed right now. It's called Nomad Village Raleigh. And we're about to start vertical construction on the next 20, and they're tiny homes. The first 2 are 600 square feet. They're very high end with huge porches, and then the next 20 will be duplexes. They're going to be like 300 square feet, but they're super high end, 12-foot ceilings, waterfall shower, rooftop decks. So we're going to ultimately have 30 units, and we're going to have a 4,500 square foot community center with conference room, industrial kitchen, meeting areas, offices, and then a nice pool and gathering area. So it's going to be specifically designed for the digital nomad, kind of the traveling nurse, corporate housing type of stuff.
So these are for rent, I'm imagining.
Correct.
Now, in the tiny home world, I know that I've looked into this myself. You've got several different terminology floating around. I've heard off-site construction, stick built. I've heard also too, and I don't know if this is a different sect entirely, but I've heard manufactured home, right? When you were looking into this space, was there like a spread of different build setups that you were looking at, or did your partner have lots of experience in the tiny home world and really guided the project in that?
No, we kind of did our research across the board on whether we're going to do stick built or we're going to do, offsite construction. We kind of looked at all 3 of those options. I mean, my partner actually went and visited a construction house I want to say it was in Virginia, where they built units in their giant facility, and then they shipped them to the site and just kind of plopped them down, and you're hooked them up and you're good to go. So we looked at all 3. We kind of went to, it was cost driven for us. And I think that you can do the panel, you can build the panels offsite and then kind of construct them. There's offsite where you can build it in its entirety and ship it. Then there's panel building where you can kind of partially put the panels and ship them to the site. And then there's just straight stick built where they're built on site. So we chose the stick built path. It is a little bit more expensive, but we have better quality control, to be perfectly honest with you, because our units are very, very custom and high end. Whenever we were getting into and kind of making our business plan towards doing the development for the tiny home village in Raleigh, we had looked at, panel building it, where you're just building the panels, the walls offsite. We looked at, doing construction completely offsite and just building building the tiny homes and shipping them to the location, and then stick built, just building them all on location. And I was saying that we kind of chose to stick build them all on site simply because our units are going to be super high end and custom. And we want to just make sure that, they're very, very unique and we can maintain the level of quality that we want to present to our tenants by having that control and paying that premium.
Now, when we talk about the process for renting out a tiny home, is it the same as renting out a traditional single family home, or is there a specific market distinct from the MLS that you would go to market these properties?
I mean, I think you can use you can use the Airbnb model if you wanted to do short-term rentals, but we're really focusing on the digital nomad, community, those folks that are so many of young people and even not young people are working remote from different locations. You had said before we started, hey, I went down here and worked remote for a month, and I've got a 24-year-old daughter, and she's like, hey, I think I'm going to see if I could go full remote. Maybe I'll go over to Europe and work for a few months. So there's a whole culture around kind of the minimalist digital nomad working remote from anywhere that we're going to tap into. I've got two partners on the deal, and one of them has a digital nomad community that has I think it's up to several hundred people in it right now that travel around the world working in different locations. And so we think that this is the first kind of digital nomad focused community that we know about in the world. And, we've got plans for building several others. So we think we're kind of at the leading edge of a movement.
I would imagine too that, zoning and permitting would not be as difficult in this segment as some others, because people need affordable housing, right? And, the cities and the municipalities themselves are probably looking for these types of opportunities, but because it is out of the norm, not every builder is going to be able to have expertise in this type of development, right? So it's probably a win-win for all sides.
It completely is. We've got a great reception from the city of Raleigh. We've actually had the mayor of Raleigh on site on our construction site to tour our first two units. We've had several CEOs of manufacturing firms, several major brokerages, to come out and visit the site and really get a look at our units. We have a prototype that's off-site, and then we have two units that are fully constructed and occupied on our original site, our current site. And everybody that's visited has just been super impressed and very, very bullish on what it means for affordable housing and housing capacity in Raleigh in general.
If this one goes well, and I think it will, are we going to see some in maybe Houston?
I don't know. It really depends on, we try to put them into really trendy markets and trendy locations. And Houston's got a lot of areas that we love in Houston. We buy a lot of property in Houston, and there are some great areas for this type of property. This type of community in Houston for sure.
We are coming up on time here, Marv. Where can our audience go to learn about you, reach out to your team, any projects that you're working on outside of that tiny home community?
Go to groviacapital.com. That's where you can find the most about our team and partners and what we do in the multifamily syndication space. You can also find me. I'm very active on LinkedIn and Facebook. So either one of those, socials is great. And then our website, those would be the best places to find more information.
Marv, thank you so much for your time today. Thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, thanks, Dylan.
Thanks for joining us for today's show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing on your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. You can also check out the show's notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and even how to work with me directly one-on-one. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. See you on the next show.